In this episode of the Creator Town Hall, we'll be talking with a creator who has made songs. She's writing music, she's recording music, she's making music videos, and she's releasing music. And I think you'll find it super, super fascinating. And here's the coolest thing. She's right here in the same city as me. Please welcome to Studio Live today for the first time, Kyan Burns. How you doing over there, Kyan? I hope you are doing well. I've just unmute you and that will be good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Well, nothing like a professional operation and a great start there. So, many of you will know Kyan because we've played two of your tracks on the Your Music Live show. So we played your first single called "So I'm Telling You" and your latest single called "Guest." So we'll be talking a little bit about that and learning more about you and your background. But for those who don't know you, what's the Kyan Burns story? If you had to sum it up in the elevator pitch, the 1 minute version of you and your musical journey thus far.
Okay, it's been a pretty crazy journey. I've been singing since I was a teenager.
Nice.
Sort of got into, I suppose, writing and things early on, but then I don't know, I had a few struggles when I was younger, so moved on to the cover scene, I suppose, and I've been playing in
Nice.
bands and duos and things all around Adelaide for years. And then
Yep.
I've sort of just started venturing back into the original scene, which I'm really excited about. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Well, yeah, and for those that want to check out your stuff, down in the description, as we always do here, there are links to your YouTube and your Facebook and your Instagram and all the places that folks can catch up
Subscribe.
with your music. Yeah, you can do that. So what we're going to talk about today here with Kyan in the Creator Town Hall today is what it's like to actually get out there, because Kyan's made some pretty amazing songs, recording in studios, like doing music videos, the releasing, the media that you're doing right now around all of this sort of stuff.
Mhm.
How's it been? What's the sort of been your reaction so far to because you put out a single back in, I think, August, your first single landed, and then you had
June.
June. It was all the
Yeah.
way back in June, and then
I
your
know.
most recent single only a couple of weeks ago. So what's the last
Mhm.
sort of 6 months been like? Has that been like a whirlwind? What's the experience been like for you?
It has been a massive whirlwind. It was sort of just started as like a thought, and then it's just sort of just just gone crazy from there. So I was all kind of new to this whole promo thing, and you get a song out there and just think, cool, I'll just get a song out there, but you don't realize there's a whole heap of other stuff that goes with that, and when it comes to filming and promotional stuff and then hopefully lining up some original gigs and launch parties and that sort of thing. It's just been nonstop. So it's been cool. It's been great. I'm loving the ride. So I'm just going to keep going with it.
Yeah, very cool. So going from playing covers and doing the whole cover scene, and if folks jump over to your YouTube channel, they'll see you doing some covers of some pretty cool songs over there. I think was it a "Sweet Child of Mine" Guns N' Roses cover you had over on
Yeah,
your YouTube channel?
that's an oldie.
The,
Yeah.
an oldie, but a good. I know. I look at the timestamp and I go, "That's 7 years ago." Should I talk about that? She's probably like, "Pete, don't mention that. I don't do Guns N'
It's
Roses
okay.
anymore." But what was it like going from that, like going from playing cover songs and moving more into sort of releasing music and original music? Is it a big difference, or is it fairly similar?
Oh, I think it's a pretty big difference. Yeah, it's I mean the cover thing. I've been doing it for so long, and was always playing gigs, and you tend to, I don't know, you get a bit too used to that. I don't want to use the word
Yeah,
stale, but you're sort of doing the same thing a lot.
yeah.
But this year's been pretty different. I've had to I just work with a lot of different guitarists and musicians this year, so it's been really cool. Sort of just putting myself out there, and that's even with covers because things have changed in the cover scene for me in regards to a musician I've been working with for a long time. I've had to
Mm,
step back for a while, so it's forced me to jump on board with all these other people, which is great. I love it, and it's been pretty
mm,
exciting. But with the original stuff, it's just completely different. It's
yeah.
there's a lot of things that come with that, and putting something out there that no one else has heard, and then just hoping that people like it is pretty scary.
And that's got to be that is one of the toughest things. I know for many folks that are here, if you're watching here live or if you're watching the replay, yeah, a lot of folks are like that, and I think a lot of people start out. I know I started out playing cover songs, and many of us started out
Mhm.
with covers, and then when you go to original music, like you say, things that people haven't heard, and if you've played, I know
Yeah,
you've played a lot out in sort of the scene around here in Adelaide. You know, you play those classics that you're probably, like you say, a little bit stale, that you're probably a
yeah,
bit sick of playing over and over again, but it gets the crowd going, and you've always got that one up your sleeve, haven't you, that you can just put out there that you know
for
people are going to
sure.
dance to and that people are going to really dig. When you're playing
Yeah.
your own music, you're like, oh, this could go anyway. Like they may love it, they may react differently to it. So yeah, no, so that's very cool. We'll say good day to the folks who are here live. We do have Marcus Cannell. Hello to you there. Gregory Sullivan says already subscribed to Kyan. Didn't remember, notification not available because their channel set made for
Oh,
kids. Oh, there you go. Might have to
it
check up
should
on
be.
that.
I'm pretty sure okay. I thought I fixed that. I'm gonna have to look at that now because it shouldn't be.
There you see. This is what you get from this. You find out these things. Yeah, you want to make sure
Mm,
that people are getting your notifications. Maybe that is it.
yeah.
Yeah, and Jade Star, one of our great moderators here, says that yeah, you can check out Kyan's music. That use the Song Whip link there. So Song Whip is actually very cool because it means that whether you're on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube Music, it'll link to wherever you listen to your music. So you can check out Kyan's music there. Hello to Guzzo. Hello to Mimo Japan. Now Ravi, I believe, is someone we might
Yay!
talk about a little bit later because I believe we'll talk a little bit about the production of your music as well too, because I believe from when we were chatting before, you work on your own original music, but your first couple of singles you've collaborated with other musicians as well and other
Mhm.
songwriters, which is I think is super cool, and I want to dive into that in a moment if you don't mind, because I know a lot of people here are collaborating with other people. A lot of the
Mhm.
creators on that around this channel love the idea of collaborating and want to probably learn more about how that side of things all works. So, hello to Dave Fox, who's here as well, here live. If you're watching on the replay and you have questions, or if you're here live, if you have really difficult questions, I'll make Kyan. No, I'll answer those. But if you have any questions for Kyan as we go through, please let us know. So what was the experience? So you said you came out of this. Now we've had this big C word thing. We don't use the actual C word around here. We just say C word because otherwise YouTube flags us for all sorts of things. But
Mhm.
the whole C word situation that happened 2 years ago, how did that impact you? Was that a catalyst for you moving more into sort of wanting to release your own music? Did it have anything to do with it? And how's that kind of impacted? Obviously, the live music scene has been very,
Mhm.
very different. What's the impact
Mhm.
been for you?
Yeah, the impact was pretty massive initially. I went from gigging all the time to playing no gigs for 6 months. So it
Mm,
was, yeah, it was a huge difference for me. And
yeah.
I definitely think that had something to do with going out there into originals because it was more time to be creative. You got more time on your hands to do these things and try things that you otherwise wouldn't have time to do. So yeah, so in every other aspect, it's a terrible, terrible thing. But at the same time, it's given me an opportunity to try something else. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and to get out there. So in terms of your first song, so the video. Now I love the production on this video as well.
Mhm.
Really well produced. You're seeing some images of it here, so I've just got to turn the volume down in my headphones there. But yeah, the video and the production and everything here is so super professional. I know when we played this for the first time on Your Music Live, everyone was like, "This is radio ready. This is like MTV ready. This is like amazing music, amazing production, amazing video."
Mhm.
Where did that all come from? Did you have to just assemble a team of like crack professionals to bring all of this together? Because I know many of us desire to make something like this,
Mm.
and very few of us actually can execute on that. So, how did it all come together, and who's behind the scenes, like helping you out with this stuff?
Look, I am incredibly lucky. I have an amazing friend. He's my brother's partner, Gareth Wilkes, who is
Nice.
a film director, an award-winning
Yep.
film director. Actually, he's done some
Wow.
pretty amazing things. So it's just I'm just really really fortunate that he wanted to jump on board, and I thought, cool, we'll just. I just said I just need a film clip. It probably would have ended up something on my filmed on an iPhone if it was left up to me. Um, but Gareth just was amazing. He got it all together, brought a crew in, and I had Aaron the actor who was in the clip with me, he jumped on board happily. A lot of people donated their time. I'm very, very lucky for that because, it wouldn't have been a cheap project. But yeah, I'm just very, very fortunate that I had these people that were happy to help me out.
Very cool, and I love it. It's such an Australian-looking backyard. Like that's something that I know that for the Australians, like
Yeah.
that shot there, just that Australian-looking yard. If you ever wondered what it's like to be hanging out here in Australia, that's what all of our backyards look like. The galvanised iron fence, the fruit trees. That's about as Australian and as South Australian as it gets. So, no, I love it. Very, very cool stuff, and that was all the way back in June, which and look, the video's got a whole bunch of views and exposure, and a lot of people really dig it. And then you so that was a more of your ballad style. And again, we can't play the music here because YouTube has all sorts of weird things around actually playing music. So we'll let folks go and discover that themselves. Then you jumped in and you changed things up a bit. So you went the very sort of ballady song, and then you just rocked out with your new single called Guess. So what was with the Jekyll and Hyde changeover there of going from the sort of pop ballad to the pop rock extravaganza that was your next song?
Look, I've always been a bit of a rock chick, so Guess was sort of like a no-brainer for me. Ravi brought that song to me, and it was, it was just so me. And then, I mean, it was actually brought to me before So I'm Telling You, actually, but we decided to go ahead with So I'm Telling You first, which I thought was a really good start because people sort of dig an emotional ballad, so it
Yeah.
kind of hooks them in. And then this was a big, fun sort of tune. So this, if anyone knows me, they'd probably think that this is more me, the Guess
Yeah, right.
song. So, but I mean, I gave Gareth here the song, and he sort of came up with a really cool storyline for the film clip, So that's Gareth's little crazy brain there. But it was, so much fun. So much fun.
Love it. Well, I won't spoil it for folks who haven't seen the film clip, but there you go. You got the teaser. That was like the trailer there. That was just a setup. You've got to go and see the whole video there because it's really, really, really well produced and a great song and a great video. And I know that when I played it on the most recent Your Music live show, everyone was just like, wow, this is awesome again. The exact same reaction that they had the first time around. And I was saying to Kyan, I'm like, do we open with the song or do we close with the song? What do we do with this? And I'm like, if we open with it, it'll be 6:30 o'clock in the morning for you. So you probably won't catch it live. But I know for
I could
a
on the
lot of
playback.
I know it's one of the sad things about doing this because many of the viewers that are here are in the US and and then Canada and the UK and all around the world, which is cool. And again, it's very strange that I think you're only the second person in Adelaide and only about the fourth person in Australia that I've actually had on the channel before. So we've got a lot of creators here who are in very different parts of the world. My guest today is Kyan Burns, and once again, if you are just joining us here live, if you've got any questions for Kyan, if you want to learn about her and her musical journey and her experience so far, drop your questions right here in the chat. And if you're watching on the replay, drop some comments down below. And while you're down there, you can check out all the links to Kyan on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all the places where you can check out her music and see what's going on. What got you into music in the first place? So I know I like to ask folks that when they're on the channel for the first time, a bit of your musical origin story. So you said you've been singing since way back when, since you were like a wee young'un. What got you into music, and why did you want to sort of pursue this and get to where you are now?
Look, music's always been a huge part of my family. My nana is a country singer, a country hillbilly singer, still kicking at 93 years old. My dad was a huge music lover. He was not a musician, but a huge music lover. So we were listening to music our whole childhood. And then as I sort of got older, I thought I could sing. So, I thought, maybe I should try it out. I spoke to someone that I knew that was a music teacher. I said, I just want you to hear me and tell me if I'm any good or if I'm crazy, because I used to sing all the time and everyone used to tell me I could sing. He had a listen and said it was, a no-brainer, basically, like, let's do this. So, so it was sort of spiraled from there.
All went from there. Yeah, very cool. And it is like you hope that, especially when it's family and friends, you hope that they're actually telling you the truth and it's not that sort of American Idol syndrome where they're just like, you're amazing. Like all your family, your mum's going to be like, yeah, you're great. And your parents are all, yeah, you're great. And aunties and uncles. And then you're just like, actually you hit the real world and they're like, well,
someone
maybe
needs
not.
to be honest with her.
Exactly. You need
But
that balance.
thankfully, I think I've done okay.
You don't want to be shot down. You don't want to lose all your confidence, but at the same time, you don't
No.
want that false positivity to take over. Yeah, very cool. And then obviously getting into playing live. What's your favorite thing about playing live and getting out there and gigging and doing things when you're able to, and hopefully, touch wood, here in South Australia, we will continue to be able to in the
Mm,
near future.
yeah. Oh, look, there's nothing like the vibe of a crowd, when the crowd are
Mm,
loving it, and yeah, that I feed off a crowd. So if the crowd's not enjoying themselves, then neither am I.
yeah,
So, but if you're having a great gig, then there's no feeling like it. The adrenaline is amazing. So,
yeah.
yeah, I love it. It's not work when you're enjoying yourself, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah. And as someone who's lucky enough to do this for like a living now, yeah, it's a labor of love, isn't it? And even when you're working, even when you have to load up and you have to help the guitarist or the drummer with their rig and you have to get everything set up, and then pull it all
That's
down
the
at the end of
worst.
the night and chase the owner for the paycheck at the end of the night, all of that can be worth it if you have that crowd that's actually engaged and
For
doing their thing
sure.
as well. Can I embarrass? It's on your public channel, so I embarrass you here. And I talked about this before, but a cover song that people may want to go and check out on your YouTube channel is this one here, rocking out to some Gunners, some Sweet Child of Mine, some Guns N' Roses there. So looks like you're having a bit of a blast there, singing some Gunners from
Mm.
7 years ago.
Yeah, look, Sweet Child of Mine has become kind of my signature song, and I've done it with
Love it.
every band and duo I've ever done. This is obviously a duo, but
Yep.
in the bands, it's just you got to rock it out. It's such a great tune, and if I don't do it at gigs, everyone goes, "Why didn't you do Sweet Child of Mine?" So
Look, oh, that guy's loving it.
that's my brother.
Oh, there you go. Oh, we
Oh
got
God.
the family affair going on. I love it. So we do have a question here. So Jade has asked, yeah, are you planning on doing some shows outside of Adelaide? So yeah, you're looking to start expand. Obviously, here in Australia, like most parts of the world, travel's a little challenging, and getting to other
Mm,
places is a little bit difficult right now.
yes.
Any plans? Like, is that the goal? Like, once you get this together and you've got some more songs and you've got a repertoire,
Mm.
some original gigs and getting out there and touring, is that on the cards?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I'd love to be getting out there touring wherever, So there has been some offers for some original shows come through. So it's just a matter of getting
Nice.
enough material to make sure I can do that. But I am, yeah, definitely planning and looking forward to hopefully playing, throughout
There you
Australia.
go.
So
Very cool. Well,
see
for
what
those, I know
happens.
there's a few folks here live, and I know there's many viewers over in Melbourne and Sydney here in Australia that would be very keen to catch a live show because
Mm,
we're all a little bit starved of live music here, everywhere around the world. I know at the moment, but especially here in Australia, it's a bit rough
mm.
if you what is it? If you're singing, if you're a soloist, I think you can sing without a mask, but if you're like in groups, you can't actually sing in public yet at the moment here in most parts of
It's
Australia. So
Yeah,
it's rough.
it's all very strange. Luckily, yeah, playing in with bands and things here at the moment, we can still do it. It's fine, but there's no dancing, and it changes things really. Like, yeah,
It is very weird. The first gig I went to where you had to sit down, get your drink, and then not dance. And like, I'm like, oh, wait, I'm nodding my head. Am I nodding too vigorously? Is this chair dancing? Am I going to get
I
told off
know.
here? I'm not
Stop
sure.
it. None of that. Yeah, I know. It's very strange.
The dance police feels a bit like Footloose from the 80s, where someone's going to come and like, no, no dancing. It's not allowed. Oh,
Yeah,
very
it's very.
cool. So you talked a little bit before. So I believe Ravi, who was here in the chat before, and because again I've done a little bit of my research here. There's Ravi. So
Mhm.
he's helped you out with a lot of the production, I believe, in the first couple of songs. And again, as I
Yep.
mentioned before, I know a lot of people here because this is a creator town hall. A lot of creators here love to hear stories about how to collaborate and how do you actually get all that the logistics of actually getting that done. So what was the story behind that? How did you sort of get in touch with Ravi? What was his role and your role, and how did that all come together for these first couple of songs?
So Ravi and I have known each other for years, just around the music circuit in Adelaide. Um, and he actually approached me, came to one of my gigs, and sort of approached me about doing some songs, doing some original songs. And
Nice.
so he had some songs in mind already, so from some songwriters in the US. So I had a bit of a listen to a couple of them guests, and so I'm telling you I love them. So yeah, I just went, sure, why not? Not really thinking much of it at the time, just like, oh, just recording
Yeah, that
a
sounds good.
song.
Yeah, record a song.
And yeah, and it's just gone from there. And Ravi was just a huge support throughout the whole thing. He's a really good human, that one. So he did a lot for
Nice.
me because I had no idea what I was doing. So.
And and that's probably the other question. I know that again, because this is a recording channel. A lot of people here do their own home recordings. Many of us have recorded in studios as well and collaborate with other studio musicians and the like.
Mhm.
What was it like then, that experience? Had you recorded before, and what was the experience sort of going into the studio and recording these songs?
No, I hadn't really. I mean, I've recorded some stuff years ago, but nothing major.
Mm.
So it'd been a long time, and it was a pretty phenomenal experience getting in there and doing it, and also having Ravi sort of helping me, you know, through it and trying to, I suppose, make it perfected, I guess. Um, and as time went on, I got a little bit more comfortable with it myself anyway, and started going, okay, this is how I sort of want it to sound. I don't want it to sound this like this, and
Mm.
it's nice to sort of throw ideas back and forth between each other, trying to work out exactly how we wanted it to sound. So, yeah, it was pretty cool getting to do that with Ravi. So.
Yeah, no, very cool. And yeah, so what was the most unexpected thing about recording in a studio? So obviously, playing gigs and playing your own music and playing
Mm.
covers and that sort of thing. Walking into a studio and actually being there and recording, was there anything that stood out as like, oh wow, I really didn't expect it to be like this when you actually walked in and started doing the process?
Yeah, actually, just how sort of perfect you've got to make your voice, because and I started picking up on these little things that I do with my voice that I wasn't aware that I was doing. So I've
Mm,
really had to work on that. It's been a big lesson for me, actually. Just yeah, I mean, when you're singing live all the time, which is what I always did, you don't really notice these little things that you do because you're always playing to a crowd. It's always live,
mm.
and but when you're in a studio, you don't have that room for error, really. So yeah, it's been quite a learning curve for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and what we like to say around here is that the good thing these days is because everything's digital, you got like unlimited retries. So it's like playing a video game. You just hit restart, and you're just like, you missed that note. You're like, okay, I'll do it again, and take
Yeah,
take
yeah. Until
14,
you
just
can't
keep going.
until you can't sing anymore. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's like, no, I can do it again. I can do it again. Just one more time. I think Ravi got sick of that. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, just one more go. So
That's a
yeah.
bad combination when you've got a perfectionistic producer and artist at the same time.
Yeah.
That could be like the worst case scenario because you're like, okay, take 47. We got it down this time. I know exactly what we're doing now. We'll get it done. Oh, that's
That's right. Yeah.
very cool. Well, the proof is in the pudding, though, because the two songs that you've released so far are awesome. And we were chatting in the pre-show as well about, because one of the things that you mentioned to me is that, and I looked at the songwriting credits on the first couple of songs, they were written by other people, and you mentioned that before. Ravi brought you these songs. What's the plan from here? Because I think when I was reading an interview with you today, you were talking EP, you were talking about getting a collection of
Mm.
songs together. Are you looking to bring in your own songwriting as well as other songwriters and start collaborating that way? What's the plans? What's on the cards?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a bit of both. I've got a couple of songs in the works that I've written myself, which I'm hugely excited about. So I'm really looking forward to having full control over on releasing something that's mine. I'm going to be
Mm.
working with some really great musicians as well, to get, I suppose, the music down, um, and a couple of cool collaborations potentially happening, which I've sort of started working out. So I'm pretty excited for that, but I've got to keep that under wraps for now.
Oh,
Um,
I thought we were going to get an exclusive. Ah,
yeah, no. Look, I'm really excited about the next year. So the plan
mm,
is an EP,
mm,
um, which will have a couple of mine as well as a couple from other songwriters.
mm.
And I've got a potential single in the works before that. So I'm just working through that at the moment for myself. So yeah, I'm in a really good creative space right now. So I'm really looking forward to showing people what I can do as a songwriter, as opposed to just a recording artist. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like, we mentioned a lot. Like, I talk about it a lot. That people are like, if you look down on cover songs and you look down on people that are singing other people's songs, but that's actually what music is and has
Mm-hmm.
always been about. It's never been
Mm-hmm.
about you just owning every part of the process. Look, there's some musicians like Prince and Dave Grohl and these guys that play every instrument on every album and do
Yeah.
everything and do the full production. But for the most of us humans, that's not the best way to get the best outcome. You're going to get the
Mm-hmm.
best music by getting people that specialize in their particular art form,
For
bringing it
sure.
all together, and it creates what you got. Because as you've said before, if you were shooting your own video instead of getting getting a producer to do that, you'd be like taking selfies on your iPhone, as opposed to getting someone to produce the sort of videos that you've got. And yeah, the same with the
Yeah.
production, having someone like Ravi helping you with that, and having other songwriters like I think remixing and collaborations and featured artists and all of that sort of stuff. It is so important in the music scene because
Yeah.
yeah, you can't do everything yourself all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you want to though, and that's cool too. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do on both sides of that and bringing that all together into an EP. So 2022 EP and then Australian tour, is that's the plans at this
Look,
stage?
I'd love that. That would be the dream, right? So who knows? I'm just going to keep rolling with it, and hopefully, something comes up. But yeah, I think 2022 is going to be a good year, so I'm pretty excited for it. Mhm.
Absolutely, very, very, very cool. So, how do you we'll talk a little bit about the about your songwriting because you've sort of started on this a little bit, and again,
Mhm.
there's the Creative Town Hall, so a lot of creative folks are here. How do you capture your ideas? So, when you're starting to think about something that you want to do with a song, or that you're writing a song, or that you're working on something that's in your head, what's your process there? Like, how do you sort of make sure that you capture those songs and do you use voice memos? Do you write things down? Are you old school
Yeah.
with a notebook? Like, what's your
Um,
process? Because everyone's a bit different with this sort of stuff.
well, I suppose I write it down on whatever I've got at the time. So, whether it be a laptop or phone or, and if I've got a melody in my mind, I record it straight away because if you don't, then it's going to be gone and I'll forget it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's about getting it down as soon as it comes to your mind and then recording it on your phone if you need to, so whatever's available. Like, otherwise,
Oh,
we'll lose a masterpiece, you got to get it down.
it's so right, and I say a lot that these days that we live in the future. Like being in here in 2021, you've got these capacity to record things. So just record
Mhm.
everything. Like just grab your phone and grab whatever's near to you,
Yeah.
and just record it because you'll think you're going to remember it, but you're not going to remember it, and
Mhm.
yeah, it'll
No.
be gone forever if you let
Yes.
it slip away. So yeah, super important to be able to do that. One thing I ask people when we're talking about creativity is, what advice do you have for other people? Because you'd be at the point now where people are looking at you going, "Oh, I want to do that." I know that's a weird thing to think about because you seem to be fairly humble and you've probably got a good head on your shoulders and you're probably not thinking, "Yes, I'm a star." But
Yeah,
a
no.
lot of people would be looking at you going, "Oh, I want to do what she's doing." What sort of advice would you have for someone that wants to get where you're going? Because look, a lot of people are working. Maybe they're doing the 9 to 5 grind and they want to do this on the side, or maybe they, a weekend warrior that used to do this back in the day and now they want to get back into it. What advice would you give someone like that?
I'd just probably say, like, you've just got to trust yourself, I guess. Look, this has been such a gradual process from
Mm,
speaking to Ravi. And then, I mean, I'd lost confidence in writing years ago. So, but after speaking to Ravi and then getting in the studio and then doing film clips, I used to do acting and I stopped acting years ago. And then to get
mm,
back into the film clips brought that passion back as well. And now, I think after sort of releasing the songs, it's brought me into a creative space to be confident enough writing my own stuff again. So
mm.
I think it's just trust the process and just build on it. I guess you can say, because yeah, it started off as a conversation with Ravi to here, and now I'm looking forward to releasing my own stuff. Going into next year. So yeah, I think just trust the process, and if you're feeling it, just give it a shot. Like, that's all I can say. You might not get anywhere, but hey, you may as well try, right? So
Yeah, oh, it is so true. Like, and yeah, and again, a lot of the folks around here know that I say this all the time, which is that everyone starts at zero, and there's no such thing as failure. That you're either successful or you're learning. So
that's
even
it.
if your worst failure and your worst sort of thing that you're like, oh, that didn't work at all, all you have to do is stop and think, what did I learn about that, and what can I learn about that for my next project and to make it even better. Marcus Cannell says that you rock big time, so there you go. And Ravi says that you're an amazing artist. Congrats and good
You too,
luck.
Ravi.
Different style says yes, trust yourself, and it's so true. Look, and look, we're not going to get super deep here, but one thing we talk about a lot around creativity is that a lot of creative types are probably overthinkers, and we're probably perfectionistic, as you mentioned before. We get up in our own heads a lot, and we worry about not only what we think, but what other people think, and we're often our own biggest critics. What is there any again? Have you struggled with any of that sort of thing in the past? Is there anything that you
Always.
any advice you have to sort of overcome that? How do you put yourself out there when you're feeling that doubt
Look,
where you're like, oh, I don't want to do it?
I don't know if I've got advice to overcome it because it's just a constant daily battle, you know. So the brain
Yeah,
doesn't switch off, constantly doubting. But I just have to, I don't know, I've just learned to just roll with it and go, you know, what will be, I guess, you know, because
yeah.
it is a constant battle of trying to work out whether or not you you're doing something crazy, or whether people are going to like you, or whether like just constantly how things can go wrong. And
Mm,
yeah, it's just an ongoing battle. So I don't have any advice, but except just, you know, like there's so many of us that feel the same way, and you know, I guess that the thing is we're not alone in thinking that, and I think we're all sort of learning that now. So
totally.
yeah.
Yeah. Look, you say I don't have any advice, but I think simply hearing that you're not alone and that everyone goes through this sort of thing. Everyone has those points where they have self doubt. Everyone has confidence
Mhm.
issues, and everyone suffers from that. Even as I've read different styles here, is saying even the burnout side that you get there, where sometimes you're doing something and you're loving it, but then it
Yes.
could probably be, you know, even if you're loving it, it can sometimes be that. And as Ross, our friend Ross here says, pleasing yourself is the most important thing. And I think
Yeah,
sometimes that we forget about that. That
we
as good
do.
as it is to have that praise and to put your music out there and have someone else dig it and say, "Hey, that's a good tune,"
Mhm.
you've got to like it yourself, and you've got to do what you want for you. And again, it's very cool to hear you that you went from sort of doing the ballad, and then you're like, "Well, people will say this is the real me when I put the next single out there," because you're kind of rocking out a little bit more. That is very cool because you can experiment, you can do different styles, and
Mm.
you can do different things, which is very
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I do
Uh,
love an emotional ballad, but yeah, I do love rocking out. So
it's the weirdest thing, and again, for the folks who are here live, or if you're watching on the replay, let us know. But there's something about the last 2 years. Like I do a weekly live show here on YouTube. Like I don't play out at the moment for all sorts of reasons, and I've never really been like a live artist anyway. Because weirdly enough, I can talk to several people here online with live shows like every day. But if you put me in Rundle Mall right now and said, "Here's a guitar and an amp and a song list and play," I would be absolutely petrified.
oh
So
wow.
that's kind of my different blocker there. I've forgotten my point now. I was making a really good point, and then I got see that's it did that
Hey,
much
look,
to me. It blocked me off.
I think I'm the opposite. You can put me in front of 100,000 people to sing, but get me to speak, I have a huge problem with that.
Well, see there you go. This is therapy, Kyan, because
Yeah.
you're doing exceptionally well. I think so. I was going to say, everyone in the chat, just tell Kyan how good she is. Then I realized how patronising that
Don't do that.
sounds, and I won't do that because that's horrible. Um, The one thing, so I was reading some interviews, and you've already mentioned it yourself, but your grandma Zeta Burns is 93 years young, and
Yeah.
she's a bit of a legend. Like I saw you mentioned her in passing in one interview, and then I'm like, okay, I'll Google, and I Googled Zeta Burns, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's like this hillbilly country music yodeling legend of Australia, and it just goes to show that me being in Australia for 40 plus years hadn't actually heard of Zeta Burns, but a lot of people have.
Mm.
What's the story behind that? Like, so that must be pretty amazing to have that as sort of inspiration to look up to.
Yeah, look, she's a cool lady, my nana. So she's she's been I mean, Queensland's yodeling cowgirl. I reckon she was labelled back in the day.
Nice.
So she's been a touring kind of musician her whole life. You know, the country circuit. So done a few Tamworths. I don't know how many Tamworths she's done, but she's done a few Tamworths. Sang with a heap of well-known country music artist. So, yeah, and she's still getting up on stage and playing at 93 years old. So, what a legend.
It is amazing. It just goes to show that yeah, music is just such a great level. Like when things, it's great. Like we talk about it around here that if you're having a bit of a downtime, music can kind of bring you back up to normal. If you're feeling okay, music makes you feel good. If you're feeling good, music makes you feel great. And then sometimes you can hit that sort of euphoric state. And yeah, when
Yeah.
I was literally just listening to your songs today and reading some interviews, and then when I saw that, I went and watched like I think a 30-minute interview with your nana where she
Yeah.
was talking about her background and her experience, and I was like, this is so cool. Like this is just
Yes.
following going down the rabbit hole of musical origins, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, okay, that's very cool. And then I'm like, I hope I haven't got it totally wrong, and I didn't.
No.
I checked in with Kyan before we started. I'm like, it is actually your nana, right? It's not just some other rando that I'm like, oh no, I got it completely wrong.
That would have been awkward. But
Little bit. That's why we always do. We always do about 5 minutes beforehand, so that I don't make a complete fool of myself. Not that I mind these days making a fool of myself.
Mm.
It is all good. So in terms of your music journey so far, we'll probably finish up. I reckon we'll go about 10 more minutes here today because I know that Kyan, you've been hard at work. You were telling me you're at band rehearsal the other night, and then you're working, and then you've got more music stuff to do. So we'll respect your time, and we'll let you go in about 10 minutes. But what would be the proudest musical moment? This is always one that's a curveball for a lot of people. What's been your proudest moment in your music journey thus far?
Mm. Look, I've had some pretty cool moments. To be honest, I think just recently doing my launch party for So I'm
Mm,
Telling You, um, it ended up a sold out event, which was the coolest thing. Playing my songs live for the first time ever. Um,
nice.
so that was probably that was yeah, it was a pretty. I used the word euphoric. It kind of was.
Mm,
It was just
mm,
like it was pretty amazing to get up there and have people, and there were songs that I hadn't released yet either, sort of, so people got a bit of a sneak peek at that, and that Guess was one of those. To have such a cool reaction to that, and
mm.
yeah, I just felt a lot of love in the room. It was a pretty cool moment, so yeah.
That is very cool, and yeah, and it was something I remember because you sent me a link and you're like, oh, I'm doing my music launch, and I'm like, oh man, I can't get along to it, but I'm like, oh, that would have been super cool to have played you
Yeah.
on your music live, and then actually be able to see you perform live would have been super cool. But
Mm.
again, things are starting to open up a little bit more, even though
Yeah.
we've just opened our borders here in South Australia. So we'll see how things go for the next few weeks. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely will endeavour to get along and catch you live. Hopefully, there'll be plenty more live performances to come, and that you'll be able to get out and about and over to other parts of the country and even the world. I know for
Yeah.
those that
Who
are
knows?
in the UK and Europe and US and Canada, Kyan Burns, 2022, 23 world tour. Yeah, bring it on.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, very cool. So, we sort of already covered this, but again, towards the end, I also like to ask, what other? No, I've already asked you this, but I'll ask it again. What advice would you have for someone who's starting out, who's just like sort of on the edge of this and going, oh, I'm not quite sure whether I'll actually try it, because I'm a little bit nervous about it. What should you do? How do you take the plunge? How do you take that next big step to actually get out there and do it?
Look, I think it's just, small steps, like getting used to performing in front of people, getting used to hearing yourself. You know, I suppose it's just, I mean, I remember the first time I played in a band live, I did the whole gig with my eyes closed and didn't move. I was petrified. I was absolutely, but then by the end of it, I mean, I played with them for years after that. I was jumping around like a crazy person. So,
Love it.
just little steps to get yourself feeling comfortable with everything. And eventually you just go with it. So just once again, just trust yourself and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. And, most people say pretty similar things, but just positioning it in a different way. And I love the way you put that because it's very similar to what I've heard other people say around that you don't want to go from like here to here. Like, don't just
Mm,
like jump in the deep. You don't always have to jump in the deep end. But like you say, if you just take small steps towards it, eventually you'll be doing, like you say, live gigs in front of thousands of people and not even blinking, not even thinking
yeah.
anything of it. So, that is super cool. Yeah, we'll finish up there because I think we've covered a heap in the 40 minutes that we've been hanging out here.
Mhm.
But where can folks go to check you out and to check out your music? Where would you like to send people online if they'd like to hear and see more of Kyan Burns?
So they can check out YouTube, which is Kyan Burns Official. Also, I mean, they can look me up on Instagram, which is also Kyan Burns Official. Facebook, Kyan Burns Music. And I'm also on Spotify, iTunes, all of those are under Kyan Burns. So, yeah.
Very cool. See
Make
that's a
sure you
good thing. You,
subscribe.
yes, do that, and we'll get Kyan to look into the whole kids thing because I actually noticed that I
Hmm.
didn't realize it, but I noticed it earlier too. That when I went to do something, it said, "Yeah, this video you can't watch it in the background because it's made for kids." And I'm like, "That's very interesting. I didn't think it was made for kids." So we'll get
No, that's very strange. I will look
we'll
into that. Yeah.
there you go. See, you learned something, and folks that are here have learned something.
Mm.
Thank you all for being here. I hope that the folks that are here, if you're here live, I hope you got some good value out of this. If you're on the fence, if you're thinking about getting out there and creating, and I think my takeaway and my big aha moment here, and learning more about Kyan and her story, is that don't be afraid to reach out and get help from other people because especially when you're starting out, you won't know
Mhm.
everything and it's not actually anything to do with you. You may be an amazing songwriter, producer, guitar player, singer, but you may get value. Like, what is it? The sum of all the parts coming together,
Mhm.
the group that makes, the whole that makes is often better than each individual could do by themselves. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think that is great advice to get yourself out there, to collaborate with other people, to
absolutely.
keep doing your thing. Yeah, all the folks that are here live are very, very happy to hear from you. So do go and check that out. Once again, if you're here on the replay, if you weren't lucky enough to be here live, because I know we're here in Australian time. I do a lot of shows early morning, again as we mentioned before, but this one is in regular time here for us Australian folks. So for the folks of the US and Canada, if you're just waking up and you're catching this on the replay, drop a comment down below and ask any questions. And I know myself and Kyan will be down there and we'll be able to answer any questions or comments that you have there as well. Kyan, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and hearing more about your story. So thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, check out all the links down below, folks, and we'll be back here on the channel, of course, tomorrow again with another live show. We're doing a review of all the gear and specials that are going on. It's Black Friday, apparently, for folks in the US. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but for you folks over there, you get a whole bunch of cheap stuff. And you know what, like everything, like Halloween and everything, it's all come across to Australia anyway, so we kind of know what's going on. Thanks, everyone, for being here. As we say at the end of every show, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and keep creating. We'll see you next time. Take care.